When my son told me he was moving his family 2,000 miles away, I did something that surprised even myself. I smiled. I smiled and I said, "Well, honey, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity for you and Lisa and the kids." And inside, a part of me just folded up and went very, very quiet. He was so excited. His eyes were shining in a way I hadn't seen since he was a little boy, showing me a frog he'd caught down by the creek. He talked about the new job, the promotion, the better schools. And I just sat there on my floral print sofa, nodding along, my hands folded in my lap. I could feel the rough texture of my favorite sweater under my fingers, and I focused on that feeling because it was the only real thing in the room. The news he was giving me felt like a dream. A bad one. My daughter-in-law, Lisa, was there too. She was perched on the edge of the armchair, watching me with a careful look in her eyes. She was waiting for me to be difficult. I could see it, waiting for me to cry, or to guilt-trip them, or to list all the reasons why they shouldn't go. And for a second, just a split second, I wanted to be that mother. I wanted to say, "But who will help me with the leaves in the fall? Who will bring the kids over for Sunday dinner? What about me?" But I didn't. I just smiled that smile that hurt my cheeks. Because in that moment, I saw something else in my son's eyes. I saw relief. He was relieved that I was taking it so well. He was relieved that he could go and build this big, beautiful new life without a heavy heart, without a guilty conscience. And that realization, it was like a door closing softly in a quiet house. It wasn't a slam. It was a quiet, definite click. He had already left. He had been leaving for years, and this was just the moment I finally heard the door closed. To understand that moment, I have to go back to the beginning.
His name is David.
My David. He was my first, my only child. When the doctor placed him in arms, all red-faced and wrinkly with a tiny fist wrapped around my finger, I felt my whole world shift. Before him, I was just me. After him, I was a mother. It was the most important thing I ever was or ever would be. His dad, my husband Frank, was a good man. A quiet man. He worked hard at the lumberyard, came home with sawdust in his hair, and loved nothing more than to sit on the porch with David on his knee, pointing out the birds at the feeder. We weren't a rich family, not by a long shot. But we had a good life in our little 3-bedroom house on Maple Street. The mortgage was manageable, the neighbors were friendly, and we had a big backyard where David could run and play. And run he did. That boy had more energy than a puppy. I remember watching him from the kitchen window as I did the dishes. He'd be out there for hours, building forts out of old blankets, digging for treasure with a bent spoon, or just chasing fireflies as the sun went down. I'd call him in for dinner, and he'd come bounding through the door, cheeks flushed, smelling of sunshine and grass. Those were the best years. The simple years. Every morning, I'd make him pancakes on Saturdays. Not the fancy kind from a mix, but the real ones from scratch, with a little bit of vanilla. He'd sit at the kitchen table, his legs swinging because they couldn't yet reach the floor, telling me about his dreams. He wanted to be a fireman, then an astronaut, then a cowboy. I'd listen, and I'd believe every single one of them was possible. When Frank died, David was 15. A car accident on a rainy night. One moment, my world was whole, and the next it was shattered. I remember standing at the funeral, holding David's hand so tightly my knuckles were white. He was taller than me by then, a gangly teenager with his father's gentle eyes. He didn't cry at the funeral. He stood straight and tall, his jaw set, and he held my hand just as tightly back. He was trying to be the man of the house. He was trying
To protect me.
And for a while he did. He got a part-time job at the grocery store after school. He stopped asking for new sneakers or money for the movies. He'd come home, throw his bag on the floor, and ask, "What's for dinner, Ma? Need me to take out the trash?" He grew up too fast. The boy who chased fireflies became a young man with responsibilities on his shoulders that he should never have had to carry. I was so proud of him and so heartbroken for him, all at the same time. Looking back, I think that's when the seed was planted. That's when our relationship started to change. I leaned on him, and he, God bless him, let me. I didn't realize then that a son shouldn't have to hold his mother up. He should be free to fall down and get back up on his own. Then came Lisa. He met her in college. He brought her home one Thanksgiving, and she was like a burst of sunshine in our quiet house. She was bright, she was confident, she laughed easily, and she looked at my David like he'd hung the moon.
I was happy for him.
I was. But there was a tiny part of me, a part I'm not proud of, that felt a little pang of loss. For the first time, I wasn't the most important woman in his life. And that's exactly how it should be. That's what you raise them for. But knowing that in your head and feeling it in your heart are two very different things. They got married in a small ceremony at the courthouse. They wanted to save money for a house. Practical, just like his father. A few years later, the grandbabies came. First Emily, then little Jake. And my heart, which I thought had known love, grew 10 sizes bigger. Being a grandmother, it's the best part of getting older. You get all the joy, the snuggles, the sticky fingers, without the 24-hour worry. I had them over every Sunday for dinner. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, the whole deal. David would sit at the head of the table, just like his father used to, and Lisa would help me in the kitchen. It was perfect. But looking back, I can see the little cracks starting to form. They were tiny, hardly noticeable, like the hairline cracks in the ceiling after a long, dry summer. They bought a house on the other side of town. Then they got busy with their careers, with school runs, with soccer practice. The Sunday dinners became once a month. Then, every 6 weeks, I'd call, and David would be short on time. "Hey, Ma, can I call you back? We're just running out the door to Jake's game." And I'd say, "Of course, honey, you go. Have fun." And I'd hang up the phone, and the silence in my house would feel a little bit louder. When they did come over, things felt different. Lisa was always very polite, but there was a new energy. She'd gently correct me if I gave the kids a cookie before dinner, or if I let them stay up a little past their bedtime to watch a movie. "Mom," she'd say, with a kind but firm smile, "we're really trying to stick to a routine." And I'd feel about 2 feet tall. I wasn't trying to undermine them. I was just being a grandma. But I'd nod and say, "Of course, dear. You're right." And David, he was always on her side, which he should be. A husband should stand by his wife. But it still stung. One time, little Emily fell off the swing in my backyard and scraped her knee. I cleaned it up, put a princess Band-Aid on it, and gave her a hug. When Lisa came to pick her up, Emily showed her the bandage. Lisa's face changed for just a second. She looked at me, then at David. "It's fine," David said quickly, not looking at me. "Just a little scrape." But I saw the look that passed between them. A look that said, "We need to keep a closer eye on things." It was like I was a babysitter they didn't quite trust anymore. The Christmas before they moved, they gave me a tablet. A fancy, expensive tablet. "For video calls, Ma," David said, his voice a little too bright. "That way you can see the kids whenever you want." I thanked them, I really did. It was a thoughtful gift. But as I held that sleek, cold piece of technology in my hands, I felt a wave of sadness. It felt like a consolation prize. Like they were giving me a window to look through, instead of a door to walk through, when they came over that evening to tell me their news, a part of me was already prepared. The job offer was in Seattle. A big tech company. A huge promotion. Lisa had family out there, a sister she was close to. The schools were amazing. It was the chance of a lifetime. They laid it all out for me, like a map on the coffee table. Seattle was a tiny dot in the top left corner. Our little town in Ohio was a dot in the middle. They might as well have been on different planets. And I sat there and I listened and I smiled. I asked all the right questions. "When would you go? Have you found a place to live yet?" I was a robot, programmed to be the perfect, understanding mother-in-law. Then Lisa did something unexpected. She reached over and put her hand on my knee. "We want you to come with us," she said softly. For a moment, my heart actually stopped. Hope, bright and foolish, fluttered in my chest. "We've already looked at places," she continued. "Houses with a little guest suite or an in-law apartment. We were thinking you could sell this place. Be closer to the kids. See them grow up. David was watching me, his eyes full of hope. It would be great, Ma. Really great. You'd love it out there. The hope in my chest died as quickly as it had appeared. It was replaced by a cold, clear truth. They weren't inviting me because they needed me. They were inviting me out of pity. Or obligation. They were checking a box. We asked her. We did our duty. I looked around my living room, at the worn armchair where Frank used to sit, at the wall of photos, David as a baby, David's wedding, the grandkids in their Halloween costumes. My entire life was in this room. My memories were in the walls. My friends, the ones I still had, were a short drive away. My book club, my church. The grave I visited every Sunday with fresh flowers, all of it was here. I couldn't leave. Not really. I was a tree, and my roots were too deep. They would never survive being pulled up and replanted in that strange, rainy city so far away. I looked at my son. "Oh, honey," I said, and my voice was surprisingly steady. "That is the sweetest offer. But this is my home. This is where your daddy and this is where I belong." I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Was it relief again? Or disappointment? I couldn't tell. He just nodded.
Okay, Ma.
We understand. Lisa squeezed my knee. We just wanted you to know the offer is always there. The next few weeks were a blur of packing boxes and goodbyes. I helped where I could, watching them pack up the life they'd built. I took the kids for a few afternoons to give Lisa a break. We didn't talk about the move much. It was like a big, sad elephant in the room that we all pretended wasn't there. The day they left, it was raining. A soft, gray, drizzly rain that matched how I felt inside. The moving truck had left the day before. Now, their minivan was packed to the roof with suitcases and last-minute bags. The kids were buckled in the back, Emily with her face pressed to the window. I stood on their driveway, holding an umbrella that wasn't doing much good. David came and gave me a long, hard hug. "I'll call you every week, Ma. I promise. And we'll video chat all the time." "I know you will, sweetheart," I whispered into his shoulder. "You be good. You take care of that family." He pulled back, and I saw his eyes were wet. He hugged me one more time, then got in the driver's seat. Lisa waved from the passenger side, a sad, sympathetic smile on her face. And then they were gone. The red taillights of the van disappeared around the corner, swallowed up by the rain. I stood there for a long time, the rain soaking my shoes, my umbrella trembling in my hand. The street, which had always been so full of life with their house, was suddenly silent, empty. The engine of my life, the one that had been running on the sound of their voices, had just been switched off. The first year was the hardest. The silence in my house was a living thing. I'd catch myself setting the table for 6 people on a Sunday, only to realize it was just me. I'd hear a noise outside and think, "Oh, the kids are here," only to remember they were 2,000 miles away. The video calls helped, they really did. Seeing their faces on that little screen was a lifeline. I'd watch Jake show me his latest Lego creation, and Emily would play the piano for me. David would check in, looking tired but happy. Lisa would show me their new house, their garden. They were building that new life, just like they said they would. And I was a visitor to it, a face on a screen. I was becoming a memory to them. The loneliness was a physical ache, a hollowness in my chest. I'd go to the grocery store and buy a single chicken breast, a tiny carton of milk, 1 potato. What was the point of cooking a real meal? My friends tried to include me. "Come to bingo, Dorothy. Let's go see that new movie." But I'd make excuses. I just didn't have the energy. I felt like a shell of myself, going through the motions. I'd water my plants, watch my stories, and wait for the next video call. I was existing, not living. And then one Tuesday night, the call didn't come. David always called on Tuesday after dinner. I waited and waited. I checked my phone 100 times to make sure it was on. By 9 o'clock, a cold fear had settled in my stomach. Something was wrong. I called him. No answer. I called Lisa. No answer. I sat in my armchair, the one where Frank used to sit, and I stared at the phone in my lap. My mind was racing with terrible possibilities.
À car accident.
One of the kids was sick. I barely slept. I just sat there, wrapped in a blanket, praying. Please let them be okay. Please. The next morning, my phone rang just after 8. It was David. His voice was thick, heavy.
Hey, Ma.
David? What happened? Are you okay? Are the kids okay? The words tumbled out of me in a rush. We're all fine, Ma, he said, but he didn't sound fine. It's just, I lost my job. The company, they did a big layoff. A whole round of us. Just gone. My heart lurched. Oh, honey. Oh, no. He told me the whole story. The startup he'd moved for had been bought by a bigger company, and his whole department was redundant. They had severance for a few months, but their mortgage in Seattle was huge. Lisa's salary as a teacher wouldn't cover it. They were scared. For the first time, I heard real fear in my son's voice. The voice of the little boy who'd lost his daddy. I listened. I didn't offer advice. I just let him talk. And when he was done, there was a long silence on the line. Then he said something that broke my heart all over again, but in a different way. I'm sorry, Ma, he whispered. For what, honey? For not calling last night. I was ashamed. I've been so busy building this big life, trying to prove I could do it all on my own. I wanted you to be proud of me. And now, I feel like I failed you. I failed everyone. And in that moment, something shifted inside me. All the loneliness, the sadness, the feeling of being left behind. It just melted away. It was replaced by the oldest, strongest feeling I knew. Motherhood. My son was hurting.
He needed me.
Not the woman on the video call.
Me.
His mother. David, I said, and my voice was stronger than it had been in a year. You listened to me. You could never fail me. Ever.
Do you hear me? But Ma.
No buts. You are my son. You are a good man, a good father, a good husband. A job is just a job. It doesn't define you. You are made of stronger stuff than that. You're your father's son. He was quiet for a moment. Then, in a small voice, he said, I miss Dad. I know, honey. I miss him too. Every single day. We talked for an hour after that. We talked about everything and nothing. We talked about Frank, about the old days, about the kids. And for the first time in a long time, we weren't just talking as mother and son. We were talking as two people who loved each other, just being honest about how they felt. The wall that had been slowly building between us for years, brick by brick, came tumbling down in that one phone call. That phone call was a turning point, not just for David, but for me too. A few weeks later, I made a decision. I called him up. David, I said, you remember that offer? About the guest suite? He was quiet.
Yeah, Ma.
Well, I said, taking a deep breath. Is it still on the table? But not forever.
Just for a little while.
Just until you get back on your feet. I could come out and help with the kids, give Lisa a hand. Be useful. The relief and joy in his voice when he said, Really, Ma? You'd do that, was all the confirmation I needed. Selling the house on Maple Street was hard. The hardest thing I've ever done. But it was different this time. I wasn't being dragged away. I was choosing to go. I was packing up my memories, not to leave them behind, but to take them with me. The best ones were in my heart anyway. I've been in Seattle for 6 months now. It rains a lot, just like they said. But you know what? It's beautiful. The green is so bright it hurts your eyes. And my little apartment in their basement? It's perfect. It has a big window that looks out onto their garden. I have my own space, my own things, my old photos on the wall. But the best part is the sound of little feet running over my head in the morning, and the knock on my door from a small fist asking if Grandma wants to help make pancakes. David found a new job, a better one, a few months ago. The crisis passed, but something was left in its place.
Something.
Stronger. He comes down to my apartment sometimes after the kids are in bed. He'll sit in the chair opposite me, and we'll just talk. About his day, about his worries, about nothing at all. Just like when he was a boy. The roles have finally balanced themselves out. I'm not just his mother he needs to protect, and he's not just my son I need to worry about. We're just us. A family. The other day, Jake asked me, "Grandma, why did you come to live with us?" And I looked at him, at his big, curious eyes, so like his father's. I thought about the long road that led me here, the smiles that hid the pain, the silences that grew too loud, the phone call in the middle of the night that changed everything. I pulled him onto my lap and gave him a squeeze. "Because, my sweet boy," I said, "family isn't about being in the same house. It's about being in each other's hearts. And sometimes you have to go a long, long way to find your way back to where you truly belong." He just nodded, happy with that simple answer, and ran off to play. I sat there for a moment, listening to the sounds of the house, David and Lisa talking in the kitchen, Emily practicing her scales on the piano, the rain tapping gently on the window. And for the first time in a very long time, the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt like peace.